All right, welcome into another episode of the Lowdown Sports Show. Ah, I just had one of those weird moments, PJ.
You had a weird moment, Drew?
Let's rewind. All right. Welcome into another episode of the Lowdown Sports Show where we get the lowdown on all things basketball.
Yeah, we do.
I'm your host Drew,
And I'm BJ.
and we're here to get the lowdown on all things basketball. And we got a show filled with a lot of things today. We're going around the association. Got a lot of things going on in the NBA. A famous quote that's trending on Twitter right now from one of those stars in the Western Conference, a Western Conference star that needs help. The WNBA in planes, charter flights,
Hmm.
and some free agency. Some people are about to maybe find some new homes. So, talk
Yeah.
about the movement or lack thereof lately. Just a whole lot of tweeting and subliminal messages, but
It
a
was
lot
just
to
like
get into.
yeah, just like last week, Drew. We'll have a lot of stuff for next week's episode because there will be official moves made. But we got
Yes,
rumors and we got tweets and we got to try to put heads or tails on what goes where.
yes, indeed. But nonetheless, a chock full show today, BJ. As well, got BJ's best, what's on Drew's mind, and of course, playing that game everybody loves called With It or Quit It. And whenever BJ's ready, we'll get it going.
I'm ready, Drew. I mean, this is a pretty impactful day for the basketball world.
Yes.
Obviously, I know you know that, and I don't think we did this by design. Last year, I think we did a new episode on the 2 year anniversary. Now, wouldn't you know it, we're here doing a new episode live on the 3 year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's passing. It's just such a still can't believe that we've been without him for 3 years now, Drew.
Yeah,
I
the way
I I,
time.
I teared up watching just a couple minute little piece that SportsCenter aired earlier.
Yeah, man, it's crazy that 3 years have gone by like that, and that we've lost, such a great soul like Kobe, and along with the others that died, his daughter and all the other
Absolutely,
players and
yeah.
everyone a part of that team that was in the accident. So
And the world still
three
doesn't feel
years,
normal without him
yeah,
here.
3 years, man, three
I
years.
know.
Time flies, it's crazy. But on a lighter note, let's get to some basketball. We might revisit this later, but let's
Let's do.
dive into some Dallas Mavericks. BJ, our little hometown team.
Oof.
We kind of like these guys, I guess. I mean, sometimes they cause us stress, but like the Dallas Cowboys, we stay around. We stick around for the pain. We love it. We enjoy it. Rangers, we haven't been back to a World Series in a while. We're hurting a little bit, but the
Yeah, this
the
is.
future's bright there too.
I hope so. I mean, it's kind of like, how many more gut punches can I take as a Dallas sports fan this year?
Man,
My frogs getting annihilated in the national championship game. The Cowboys, this wasn't their year. I knew it wasn't going to be their year, and yet they did much better than I expected against the 49ers. It's like if you could have just avoided the turnovers and maybe did something else, maybe Tony Pollard doesn't get hurt. I don't know.
mm,
Well, let's
mm.
let's not dwell on that too much because we got some issues with our Dallas Mavericks that we need to address.
Yes, indeed. And Cam, welcome in, my friend. Dallas Mavericks, man. Luka Doncic needs some help. Period. Point blank. He needs some help. Man is tired. You can see it. There was a video on Twitter. Please send help to Luka. Look at these numbers here, and you can see there was a video on Twitter earlier of him in the huddle and leaving the huddle, just looking like so tired. Like, oh, well,
Like I got to
I gotta
score
go out
40
here and
again.
go get out here and get 40, a triple double, near
Yeah,
50 again to
and
get
and the
competitive.
I mean, and it may need that again as they get ready to take on the Suns. I mean, it's just we're about a week or so removed from Christian Wood's injury and finding out, and so hopefully he should be back here, in the not too distant future because they said, I believe last week that the timetable for his return would be about a week or a week and a half or so, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, Drew, from that
Well,
broken thumb.
I mean, Luca sure needs him. It's not like he's a key defensive piece or anything, and that's where
Hmm.
the Mavericks' main woes have been. But
Yeah,
I mean, Luca's always need help in the scoring department. But yeah, I mean, it's been even harder without Christian Wood out there.
yeah, oh yeah.
So Luka's just having to, haul it all together. I'm hoping he stays healthy, in this run that the Mavericks try to make. But the question here is, BJ, Luka needs help. Are the Mavericks going to get him any? Mavericks never really do a whole lot at the deadline, and there's a contract that's probably in the way of some moves, and that's JaVale McGee. But wanted to run through some of the numbers that have been going on for the Mavericks as of late. Um, one of these coming from, gosh, where'd he go? Grant Afseth,
Hmm.
lowest team clutch free throw percentage this season. Tied for fifth, Milwaukee Bucks and Charlotte Hornets at 71.4%. Fourth, the Cleveland Cavaliers at 71.2%. Three, the Denver Nuggets at 69.8%. Number two, the Phoenix Suns, 69.5%.
I don't really like where you're going with
This
this.
Mavericks at number one at 65.6%.
Oh man.
That's pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, and you saw it the other night in Washington, or against Washington, I should say. Not they were at home for that game. Luka taking on KP's team now that KP was inactive for that game, and man, I mean he put up another 40-point performance, but he had a chance to give the Mavs the lead late at the free throw line. Got the one to tie it, missed the second
Hmm.
one.
Yeah.
Washington makes a free throw on their end, and then he was, they double him because they're like, well, we don't want you to shoot the last shot, and Luka in his, abilities trying to find another teammate ends up throwing it. I don't know if he was trying to throw it off of the Wizard. I think it was Bradley Beal or Kyle Kuzma out of bounds to get one last attempt or what, but he didn't place it in the right spot. It gets stolen, and that's ball game. And Mavs don't even get a chance at the final shot.
When are or will they? Will the Mavs ever get more creative and give chances to another player more often than always giving it to Luca? Like 90% of the time for the final shot. Understanding he's your best player, but like let's just say Spencer Dinwiddie. They actually, I think this was Kurt Goldsberry, not sure, but I saw a by zone, like a most points scored by zone deal for the NBA, and Luca and Spencer right over there on the right wing, right beside each other. Most
Hmm.
score points on the 3-point line in that right wing.
Yeah.
What if I mean, you've probably got, I mean, you definitely have this play drawn up for Luca. It was the game winner against the Clippers back in the bubble.
Hmm.
You could run that play for Spencer or
Yeah.
something like that. Well,
Well,
just
and
just thinking for alternatives.
also consider that was a Rick Carlisle drawn up play. Maybe
Hmm.
that's not something that Jason Kidd
Maybe that's not in the bag
has.
anymore.
Yeah.
Fair,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's probably something along those lines because that is Luca's spot. That
Oh
is
yeah.
Luca's spot,
Well, and
and
and Dinwiddie hit a game winner in I believe against Boston
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah. I know he hits them, but like in situations like that, like where it comes back to you again, like
Mhm.
you'd think maybe Spencer that time, like because
Yeah.
teams are gonna think Luca in an
Yeah.
extra situation because Luca wants to get back for that free throw that he missed. So
Yeah.
and maybe that's where you kind of butt heads between your star and like what the right decision is. Like, do you go back to him again? Most of the time, the decision is yes. Like he can get you
Yeah.
that bucket, but like
Yeah. And
sometimes.
I
Mhm.
think the answer is yes. They should have more plays drawn up for other pieces, but it's also the same answer as yes. They should get help, but they're not going to in either instance. They should have plays drawn up for more players, so it's not all on Luca all the time to have to take the last shot. They should get Luca some more help, but they
Mhm.
won't. They won't draw up plays for anybody else. They won't get him help. The thing that they're thinking right now is, when this team gets back to fully healthy, when they get, Maxi back and some of the other guys that have been limited and have not played because of injury, they think that that's just as good as bringing in some help and making it a move at the deadline. I'd be willing to bet that I'd be willing to argue that's not the case. Last year you saw how much better the Mavericks improved defensively by making the trade to get Dinwiddie in here in the first place. And so, I don't know where you can, move pieces around logistically to get better defensively without sacrificing some offense. And I don't know if that's a sacrifice that the Mavericks are wanting to make at this point.
Mm. Well, BJ, I mean, when you hear numbers like I'm about to give you, you may
It's
want to
disgusting.
sell
Yeah.
out for some defense, even though your offense, you need
I'm,
some
I'm,
offense too.
yeah, I'm fine with that. But let's hear those numbers because I mean, as bad as it is, I mean, numbers really just hammer it home.
Same thing, or same account here, Grant Avseth. He covers the Mavs for DallasBasketball.com and NBA analysis.
Hmm.
This is worst NBA team defensive ratings in the month of January. Number 5, the Houston Rockets, 120.2.
Very
Number
young,
4, the Charlotte Hornets, 120.3.
young, and injuries. Yeah.
Third, your Dallas Mavericks,
Mm.
120.9.
Not the same.
Right. And then you got Pistons at 121.3, and then Spurs at number 1 at 121 and a half.
The common thing with the four other teams besides the Mavericks,
Those aren't playoff teams.
no, youth and inexperience. The
That
only thing
too.
that's keeping the Mavericks and with some of those other teams, injuries. I feel like it's been a rough month of January. I talked about it last week when I went to the game a week ago Wednesday
Hmm.
on the 18th. The Atlanta was making just it felt like so many
Right.
shots
They
and
were.
yeah and they were shooting lights out and they had some good looks, but it was like there was no effort, no attempt to be better defensively. And then a rare bright spot. We play Miami. The Mavericks get up for a big game at home against the team that's in the playoff chase in the Eastern Conference. Not saying that Atlanta or Washington isn't, but
Hmm.
Miami, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They played in the NBA title for the NBA title in the bubble in 2020. Obviously the NBA Finals have passed 2006, 2011.
Hmm.
Um, and they look lights out shooting offensively, and their defense was actually really good in that game. But then you just followed up with yet another clunker, yet another stinker against the Wizards, and it's just like, where's the consistency?
Speaking of where's the consistency, the Memphis Grizzlies haven't had a lot of it lately. And a
Hmm.
famous quote from their point guard of "I'm fine in the West."
Yeah, I've got that right here for you, Drew.
Let's hear it.
Who do you look at around the league as you're studying and say, we're going to have to run through them?
Celtics.
No one in the West.
Nah, I'm fine in the West.
Boy, you just lost 4 straight.
Oops. After what, an 11-game winning streak, Drew?
Yep, snapped by the
Oh,
Lakers. 3 close game losses, 1 blowout, one by the who, BJ?
the
The
Sacramento Kings.
Sacramento Kings. Ugh.
Well, and that was also a game that Ja Morant did not play in. To be fair,
Yeah, fair enough.
but
It was the second game of a back-to-back too.
yes, yeah. But I mean, two of those games were
But
just
like
late game collapses, Drew. Those are games that are very winnable that you shouldn't. They
yeah.
by 25 against the Lakers at one point in that game last week, and then they just collapse and
Hmm.
choke it apart. And then, of course, the Phoenix game was Chris Paul coming back, and that seemed to give the Suns a little bit more energy and juice than they'd had in a while. But the Warriors, they get Steph Curry ejected because he throws his mouth guard, which I mean, that's a conversation and a topic for another day is
Hmm.
how ridiculous that is of all things.
Okay.
But you got him ejected. He's not in the game for the final. I think it was under 90 seconds when that happened, and you can't capitalize and come out of there with a victory. I know it's a lot of road games, a lot of travel. It's kind of that slump that you might get into close to the All-Star break. I think they're all right, but Drew, I mean, you know, putting something like that out there, that's bulletin board material 101. You don't do that, especially that was a month ago. That was around Christmas time going into that first game against the Warriors before Curry had even returned. And they
Yeah.
lost that game too, if I'm not mistaken, Drew.
Yep. 0-2 versus the Warriors. 15-14 versus the Western Conference, BJ.
Mm.
Are you really fine in the West? It seems like you're just aight in the
I
West.
mean, it's a dogfight in the Western Conference, and that's not to say that Memphis doesn't have the talent, but they can't afford to put kind of content like that out there for free and get in, everybody's heads like, all right, well, this is what they think of us, so.
Right. And it keeps bringing me back to a with it or quit it question I had at the end of the year, BJ.
Mhm.
And it's about the Grizzlies. Do you happen to recall that question by chance?
Oh, vaguely, I'd probably have to go back through the archive and see if I could find it.
Okay. I got it. I wrote it down.
Okay.
It's that the Grizzlies end up like the 2002 Kings instead of these recent Golden State Warriors.
And do you remember if what I answered with that? Was I with it?
I do not. I do not remember,
Well,
but
that's
I just keep coming back to it like, maybe I'm leaning towards that Kings part. The more they look
the
human.
mortal. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And you know, if any bit of the little nucleus of what they have trying to grow up together
Mhm.
breaks up, I don't know. And right now, Dylan Brooks becoming a nuisance while they're just being okay is not great. I mean, if they were the best team in the NBA and had like, oh my gosh, I don't know, less than 10 losses, the one
Mhm.
team that didn't have double digit losses or something, like, okay,
Yeah,
I get you talking that talk, like you are
yeah.
that team this year. But y'all aren't yet.
No,
15 the
they've
15
they've
14 in the West is not,
no, they've got the talent to be doing that kind of thing. How they playing at that level, certainly. But if you got those late game situations are games you have to close out, and you cannot afford with how many teams are battling for positioning and battling for seeding at this point, Drew. You know, those two losses that were close late down the stretch. That could be the difference in not just like a seed line or two. It could be the difference in home court advantage in a for like the first round or even the second round potentially.
guess how many teams in the West have a better or record against their conference than the Grizzlies?
So better than a game above 500.
Yes, better than 15 and 14.
Without looking, I'm gonna say 5. That feels fair.
You look pretty spot on. Yes. Yes,
It
you're
is
right
5.
on because Clippers are 16 and 15.
Okay.
You are on with 5. It's the Nuggets 25 and 10. Kings 15 and 9.
Look at
Best
that.
record. Best
Hmm.
record against the West. Uh, Pelicans 16 and 12. Dallas Mavericks 18 and 11.
That's pretty good.
Phoenix Suns 19 and 13.
Mavericks' problem has seemingly been the Eastern Conference this year, which you can fault them for that because the East has gotten significantly better the past couple years.
Actually, I take that back. There is 6. Golden State Warriors 14 and 9.
Okay. Well,
Boom.
so I was pretty close, but before we move on, Drew, this just now coming in to the Lowdown Studios. Luka Doncic, no surprise here, but he has been named a 2023 NBA All-Star Game starter. So
Yes,
obviously
all that.
we'll talk more about the changes that they're doing because it'll probably be in a couple weeks. We'll have our episode where we'll do probably the same exact thing, similar to what we did in season 2, just as a hint. But
Well, BJ, to play catch up really quick before we move on, they're announcing them live as we're talking right now.
okay,
Started off with LeBron James, followed up by Zion, then Jokic, Luka, as you mentioned, Curry, Giannis, Tatum, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and most recently, less than a minute ago, Donovan Mitchell.
okay, interesting, good stuff, good stuff. I'm surprised I've got TNT on, and I thought they might be, revealing it live on TNT for before the game, the doubleheader that they've got tonight, but they're just showing. Okay, yeah, here we go. So the Eastern Conference starters: Kyrie, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Donovan Mitchell, and Kevin Durant. I don't know if you announced all of those, but they have a graphic on all 5 from the East.
Yes, yeah, I ran through them. I didn't split it up East and West, but everybody knows.
Yeah, and
sorry,
then
not
no, it's all good, and they'll show the West here in a second. I don't know how many we're missing. I don't know if that was all 10 that you mentioned.
We're close. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, so we did get all 10. All right.
Yep.
But it's no big deal. All right.
Cool.
But yeah.
Alrighty. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for BJ's Best.
Thank you, Drew. Well, I saw this and I immediately knew this is going to have to be something I brought up on the show. I've been watching a lot of college basketball lately because we've gotten to the end of football season essentially, so obviously, when I'm not watching the NBA, I like to kind of keep an eye on what's coming up through the college ranks, kind of who's emerging, so that I actually kind of sound smart when we do our NCAA bracketology. I mean, and, that didn't work out last year. Iowa losing in the first round kind of damned me from the beginning, but you live and you learn. That's bracketology rule number 101. But I saw this clip and I want to play it for you. And there's a story that goes beyond this, but I'm sure you haven't seen this because this was a game. I believe this is Atlantic 10 basketball, Drew. And I'm just going to present it without context and see if you notice what I notice.
Grant gets pop out on Norris. Give it to Alston, who lost control. Down to 18 on the shot clock, taken away by Rotroff. The defense has been pretty good here in the second.
Did you catch that?
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Yeah, there's
Buddy
a guy. There's a guy on the court.
I was trying to process how it was like happening. Like, is there a McDonald's in their gym? Like, because if somebody is there, then they could probably get the little DoorDash thing to pick it up there if they do that from the inside of the deal.
So it was this game between Duquesne and Loyola Chicago was disrupted when the I've been told this was a DoorDash delivery man. Wandered onto the court in the second half looking for the recipient of an order from McDonald's. Duquesne would go on to win the game 72-58. But apparently it was something that, it affected everybody in the arena, but the announcer didn't really acknowledge it at first. Now, when they go back and show replay, they do catch it. And then they have a shot later on. I didn't catch if I could get that video, but they show another shot later on in the stands, and he's still in the stands looking for whoever ordered ordered that whoever ordered the McDonald's. So I did a little bit more digging, and come to find out, Drew, I believe this is I don't know if this is what you would call a stunt or a prank or what the terminology is, but this is not legitimate. Somebody wandered onto the court because there was an actual order. So this person named Austin Hansen TV on Twitter had a really good angle where the DoorDash guy gets right in front of him. He says, "I did not order the McDonald's, even though it was being delivered steps from my camera position." You see the security escort him off the court and get him away from the playing area. But upon closer analysis, Drew, the delivery man is wearing a microphone and apparently has a lot of eyes were on him.
Oh gosh.
With the students having their cell phones out filming and everything like that. So wearing a microphone, multiple camera angles, got to be some kind of YouTube video, TikTok coming in the near future, I would imagine.
For sure.
Because they did not take him off the premises. He just went back in the stands as he was shown later on in the ESPN Plus feed, still with the McDonald's bag in his hand. So this is just bizarre, Drew.
It's funny because when I saw the other video, the bag was already open because they have like a sticker that tapes it closed, and it was open. I was like, "What? No,
yeah, that's
can't be."
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no way if that was legit that sticker would have been breached.
Because I saw it was on either like Instagram or TikTok. I don't know if it got to TikTok already. I was on there earlier, but
it may
one
have,
of the two. But somebody was in the comments and said that guy, they better tip him. And I was like, what? Because I saw the bag and I was like, no, don't.
So on the ESPN Plus broadcast, the one of the announcers says, "Was he going to deliver the McDonald's to somebody on the court? Can we rule that out?" So maybe if I put my hand up, he'll bring it over here to me. I'm getting a little hungry or something like that.
Yeah,
so
that would be hilarious if that was a real thing, though.
I mean, for you and I, we behind the scenes kind of, peek behind the curtain type of deal. When we get hungry, we usually have to wait until we get something pregame or we've got halftime, for during football games. But if the spread is not good, Drew, would you consider getting a delivery placed and having to go down from the press box and pick it up at either a football game or a basketball game in the stands or even outside the premises of the game?
Not I, but I'm sure that there is somebody that is rich enough that could post up at some courtside place that doesn't have like McDonald's or whatever in their gym and DoorDash within range. It has enough money to tip somebody to bring it inside of a gymnasium and bring it to them. I bet there's somebody in the world that would do that because it could go viral if somebody could actually like bring it
Well,
to the courtside and drop it off. Somebody would get that on camera and it would
Well,
be
when you
a
think
real
about
thing.
how much security you have to go through a sporting event, it
But
kind
you
of
like
how would they have gotten to get in and especially gotten that far down without somebody stopping him well before like that? The more you start thinking about it, it's like there's no way that this is a real legitimate because somebody would have stopped him long before he got anywhere close to the court. You'd think at least.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on like if it's a I don't know, like people it's normalized with the DoorDash thing. All you got you people are just they just have to show them the phone with the name that they're DoorDashing and like what if they're just like, okay,
Yeah,
drop it.
but security for a sporting event, like
I don't
okay, you're
know.
fine, just
I
go
feel
on
like
ahead.
depending
Like
on who made that's what I'm saying. Like a rich person, if they did it, depending on who made the order. Like if LeBron James is sitting somewhere in a high school gym watching a really good game, and he's like, maybe you want some McDonald's. All right, and he gets on DoorDash or whatever and gets it sent in, and somebody's like, they show on the phone like, this order is for LeBron James, and they see LeBron J on there, and
well,
it's got like $100 tip or something. They're
the
like,
only thing I
let me
could
in.
think, the only thing I could think is if that was the case, that might explain why the sticker was breached because they had to open it up and look and make sure there wasn't anything nefarious in there. I
Yes,
mean,
that's a good point.
that's
Yeah. Okay, so
so
see, I mean, like here, just all right. If you need to cut it open here, I'm sure LeBron will understand. Here's his, here's his Big Mac and fries and smoothie. Can I go in there now? All right. His
yeah.
wife is hungry. You can't
Well,
keep the queen rating.
well, I'm interested to see what comes of this because I mean it's very very clearly looks like it's just for a skit or a prank or video of some sorts and somebody trying to gain some internet
Yeah.
clout, which has certainly
Yeah.
worked in their behalf. But if it wasn't, then
I think I'd
we
be
need
fine with it either way.
we
It's
we
like
need
I'm
to
not
keep
the one that's got to deal with it. It's funny because I know somebody's either making content with it intentionally or somebody's gonna see that happen with some celebrity and get content and it go viral. It'd be
well,
funny.
the only
Like,
thing I worry
look
about
who
is
did this
that
sports side.
the only thing I worry about is that this might lead to more attempts for something like this. The first time you get, like this kind of blows up, then everybody wants to be like that, wants to get famous and copycat. I mean,
Like the first time J.R. Smith orders McDonald's at a high school basketball game, they're gonna be like, "J.R. High at a basketball game ordering DoorDash."
it was a novelty because
Shout out to
I
J.R.
mean
Smith.
at some point nobody had run onto the field at a baseball game before, and now it's like you can't go to a regular season game without somebody at least attempting to do it.
Oh yeah,
Which
people are running
seems-
on the field naked.
yeah,
There's more animals running out there more than normal. Like, what are y'all doing here? Oh, black cats running across our football field this year. I called that play-by-play. How about that?
and the cat runs into the end zone. That
Shoots
is a
out the
touchdown.
defender, spin move. Oh my goodness! Catapults over the pole.
And he might have had 9 lives, but that time you got to give him 6.
Oh man, he lost one tonight jumping over that railing.
Anyway, Drew, so somebody that has worked and done the deliveries in the past, I figured you might be able to appreciate that. So that is BJ's best for this evening.
Good stuff, my man. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. We love
Yeah.
to hear it, and we love the fact that the NFL season is winding down because that just means more basketball for us to watch. But we still love the NFL anyway.
Yeah,
There's
we
four NFL teams left, BJ, fighting
Mhm.
for it all. 2
Yep.
conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get 200 in free bets instantly.
Yeah, that's right, Drew. And if you're not a new customer like you and I, we've certainly had our fair share of successes and failures when it comes to placing some bets over
Yeah.
with our friends over at DK. It's all right if you're not a new customer. You can feel the conference championship thrills yourself as well with the stepped up same game parlays. Man, I mean, I'm liking the Kelsey Super Bowl, Kelsey v. Kelsey with Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey. I think the Chiefs and the Eagles. I know they're both the home teams, but Kansas City is the underdog, which surprised me because a lot of people discounted Cincinnati until they went in and won at Buffalo last week, and they're a great team. But I mean, I just think that this is, if not now, when is Patrick Mahomes going to beat Joe Burrow? It's going to be feeling like the Brady Manning kind of arc. If he doesn't do it now. He's had 2 games at home in the playoffs and 2 road games in the regular season. And if he's 0-4, then the comparisons of Burrow to Brady are going to be even more so. Also, I really like San Francisco's defense, but Philadelphia's defense is just nasty, scary. And if this game, if anybody's going to challenge Brock Purdy, it's going to be the Eagles defense. I think we, as much as they struggled with the Cowboys, this is going to be a whole nother animal. So you can roll with the Eagles, you can roll with the Chiefs like I am, or you can take your shot at an even bigger NFL payout and boost your winnings with each leg you add up to 100% if you want to go with those underdogs. Might be the way to go, Drew.
Maybe. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TBPN. New customers can bet $5 on the conference championships and get 200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TBPN.
Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, Drew, before we get diving on in and trying to take flight with some WNBA talk this week, it's time to find out what is on my good friend Drew's mind this evening.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we mentioned earlier, it's tough being a Dallas sports fan.
Yeah, it is.
We haven't seen a championship in 12 years, and that was in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a beautiful one.
Absolutely.
It was their only one, but we love it nonetheless.
That's one of my peak high school memories right there, Drew.
Yes, indeed. But as for those Dallas Cowboys, it hasn't been the same. It hasn't been fun. The Dallas Mavericks reached the championship twice. How many times have the Cowboys been there? 0 in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have been to the conference championship? 0 in our lifetime. And how many times in a row have they lost in the divisional round?
Well, outside of when they lose in the wild card round, they haven't won in the divisional round since the 95 season, 96.
Yeah, the last Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So that's pretty bad.
Very bad. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We weren't even one. Well, you were.
I was, yeah.
You were won by the Super Bowl, but not by the divisional win. You were just short of getting here.
Yeah, I was about to say that just because I was one doesn't mean that I have any recollection of anything like that.
Correct. You don't remember what was what. You were probably pooping your pants the moment we were winning that game. Pooping that diaper.
Maybe, but I'd like to not think about that being a possibility. I was just saying, we got to get the VCR out if I want to go back and watch those highlights.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, it has been pain, and we have just known it a lot lately, and it's just been on my mind that I'm now conditioned to lose in football as a Dallas Cowboys fan. in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Regular season, we can win some stuff. Every now and then, we can beat a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Not all the time. We beat the Bengals early in the season. Would we beat them in the playoffs if we played them? No.
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 And just not only that, but beat him with Cooper Rush at quarterback.
Yeah. Maybe we should have. No, I'm not gonna say
No.
that. But it's just I just wish it would get better, and I don't know if it's gonna get better anytime soon. The only good news is that we get to keep Dan Quinn, so our defense might still be all right. But
Mm-hmm.
oh no, man. I mean,
What do you think needs to be changed?
when we lost, was I disappointed? Like, dang, that stinks. But did I expect it? Insane breath? Yes, I
Yeah.
did. So as soon as it happened, I was like,
I think we were so
Cowboys go
conditioned.
Cowboy.
I was gonna say, I think we were so conditioned, Drew, that you and I, like, no rational person would think an 8-9 team, just because they're playing at home, should beat a 12-5 team. Yet, a lot of you and I were, at least, a lot of people were telling us we were crazy for thinking that the Cowboys were going to lose that game. Until it played out, Drew, we weren't the only ones thinking that the Cowboys were going to choke it away yet again. But it just, and I've said this, I've said this elsewhere, and I'm not gonna, go on a rant or a tirade or anything like that. I saw somebody say that they won a postseason game. It's just the fourth time they've won a postseason game since 1995. They've won in the wild card round 4 times. They beat the Brady-led Bucks, who were 8-9. They won a game against Seattle in 2018, I want to say.
Hold on, I'm kidding.
They beat the Lions in 2014.
Yep.
And then they beat the Eagles in 2009. Those are the 4 playoff wins they've gotten since they won the Super Bowl last. And so, that in of itself, because they won a playoff game this year, Drew, that's an accomplishment, apparently. That's something to celebrate. Raise a bleeping banner,
Mm-hmm.
It's just ridiculous that if that's the pinnacle of success now for the Dallas Cowboys, that it's ridiculous. I said it last week that I didn't think they were going to win. I mean, it's what's frustrating, Drew, is that they were capable of winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
They were, you're talking about looking to go into the lead with, or go into the half with the lead. You'd gotten the touchdown to go up 6-3, and of course Maher getting in his head prevented it from being 7-3. But even still, it was a tie game. Late in the first half, you get to the 2-minute warning. Tony Pollard gets hurt. Oh crap, kind of deal. And then you're just waiting and with bated breath. It doesn't look good, and sure enough, it wasn't. He wasn't coming back to the game, and he may not come back as a member of the Cowboys, Drew. I mean, I obviously there's still a long way off, determining what's going to happen there. But the very next play after the injury, an ill-advised throw turns into an interception. Instead of going into the half with the lead or at worst tied, Robbie Gould kicks a long field goal. San Fran takes a 9-6 lead, and the Cowboys never lead again. So, that's what I look back as, that moment. Pollard doesn't go down. Maybe it's a different result, but I don't know. I don't know it would have been. They weren't able to run the ball, and that's what limited their offense in the second half. Their defense played great, but defense cannot do it on their own. And, without having that running attack, Dak Prescott wasn't targeting Michael Gallup. Why did we spend all that money to bring Michael Gallup back instead of trying to keep Amari Cooper? Looking for CeeDee Lamb and trying to force feed him. Dalton Schultz not having the common courtesy to get 2 feet in.
Get him out of here. But you mentioned Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
That's looking worse and worse. It looked worse and worse as the year went on, and I just knew it was a bad deal the moment the trade went down, especially because
he was given to Cleveland for a bag of peanuts, Drew.
And he had a career year this year with Cleveland, even
though
Cleveland didn't have a great year. Imagine putting Amari Cooper on this team, though.
And without having a quarterback for most of the year, because they had Jacoby Brissett, Drew, for like 11 games, and then
and then when
Deshaun Watson
came in, they didn't even play very well as a team, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's getting frustrating. The thing I always what everybody's going to make fun of, Drew, is the final play call, which is just completely asinine.
Yes.
But Drew, Cowboys should never even have had the ball to begin with. Elijah Mitchell, you stay in bounds, you go down, take a slide, first down Niners, you take a couple knees, ends the game. Don't even allow Dallas to get the opportunity to get the ball back. He went out of bounds. It shouldn't have even come to that, Drew. When they got that first down, that should have been game, and he steps out of bounds. I don't know if that was, just a completely, boneheaded decision. Obviously, it worked out at the end, but Dallas never should have had the chance with the ball in the first place. But yet somehow, some way, it's like, you think the quarterback draw last year was stupid? Here, we've got one that's even better for you. That's even more stupid.
Dude.
So
anything was better than that embarrassing play. I mean, you could have lined everybody up, Hail Mary, and Dak threw another pick. I would have been fine with that instead of, that joke of a final.
You throwing it short. And I mean, I get the design. I get what they're trying to do, but there's just no way that that's going to get enough time to develop the way you want to develop it. What I've heard is that throw, if the throw was better from Dak, it might have had a chance instead of making, Turpin go up high to get it and really not even having a chance to, shovel it off and start the lateral spree. But it wouldn't have worked out anyway.
It didn't help my pain anymore at all.
No, it's just, I just am going to probably from now on just sit there and laugh at the stupid boneheaded decisions as long as Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore are in town, Jerry Jones is still, running the team in the ground. It's not saying that I'm, not going to support them, but I think it's just one of those that you just can't help but do anything else than laugh because of how stupid it is at times. All that talent, and you just completely just, pee it away, essentially, for lack of better words.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And that's what's on Drew's mind, BJ.
Playoff success be darned at this point for the Dallas Cowboys. But playoff success not be darned for some of these WNBA free agents that we'll talk about here in a moment, Drew. But before we do that, we've got the issue has been something that has come up here in the past couple of days. And again, you and I, Drew, we've been ever since, for the past 3 seasons, we've been talking about we need this to be something that gets addressed and fixed because there's no reason for WNBA players to be flying, commercial. They need to have a way of getting travel, to and from chartered. They need their own ways of traveling and recuperating, everything like that. And so now it isn't just you and I saying it, Drew. It's a lot of the athletes across the WNBA and even NBA athletes are saying it now too as well. Here's Kyrie Irving post-game the other night talking about this as well.
Got to get something done, and I'm with them. No matter how much it costs, per se. I think we can all collectively come together and make something very doable happen. And we just want to have our ladies have peace of mind while they're playing. They don't need to be overseas all the time. They need to be here playing in front of their families every single day, doing what we do. So I think it's a lesson learned right now of how we can attack this as a family, because in the NBA, we're a family. And I think things will be figured out before the season gets started. So I'm very optimistic about that.
And then before we get back to it, here's Bomani Jones with a great point about this as well, Drew.
Several WNBA and NBA stars signaled their support by responding to Stewart's tweet with the hands up emojis. I mean, this issue has come up several times over recent years. Should WNBA players still be publicly campaigning for this right now?
Oh, they absolutely should be. I do think that there's a bit of a dilemma at play with this. Like, this is an issue that Major League Soccer also had a few years ago, which is that it has become standard, at least in the minds of professional athletes, that you fly private, right? And that flying commercial is not good. It's also worth noting that as we know more about the effect that flying has on the body and how it affects athletes, it's probably a cost of doing business that you should be flying private. The problem, of course, is the same reason those teams don't fly private. It's the same reason that I don't fly private. It costs a lot of money to do that. However, if this is what the cost of doing business is, if a team cannot afford to fly its players private, then the person who owns the team probably cannot afford to own it. I think the league needs to find a way to make this possible, or if nothing else, putting in a prohibition against flying private, which is what the issue is right now. The leagues have it set in order to protect the owners that ain't got that much money, that they're not allowed to fly private. And if a owner can do it, they should allow them to do it. And if that's a problem for those who can't afford it, they should probably sell to somebody richer.
That's a fantastic point. And of course, you saw it on the screen there, but I've also got it right here. This is the tweet from Stewie. Love to be a part of a deal that helps subsidize charter travel for the entire WNBA. I would contribute my NIL, posts, plus production hours to ensure we all travel in a way that prioritizes player health and safety, which ultimately results in a better product. Who's with me? And then, of course, you see the raising of the hand emoji tweeted back in support from a lot of athletes, not just across the WNBA, but across the NBA as well. So, Drew, I mean, we've heard a lot of, a lot of input, and obviously I don't have a disagreement. I don't think you do either, but, this is an issue that hasn't gone away because the WNBA refuses to do anything about it.
Yeah. It's just the fact of not enough money most of the time, but I mean, it's such an important thing that you got to find a way to get it done. And there's a tweet I'm taking a look at right now that I shared earlier from an professor from Pepperdine, Alicia Jessup, if I can read.
Okay.
Said it's awesome seeing support for WNBA players. However, athletes should not finance charters. She spoke to the LA Times about it yesterday. She said, I get the need for it, but they lose negotiation leverage the minute they pay for this. This is a business expense that the league must fund, which is correct, it seems.
Absolutely, yeah.
And, you want to have leverage for sure. So, I mean, it's not as simple as I wish it was. I know there are some out there that, I mean, there are probably some. Would you say there's an NBA player that might be richer than one of the owners? I don't know.
I'm sure that there are. I'd have to look into the ownership group for each of the teams, offhand. But I know that the Mercury went for more than what was than what I think an NBA player might have available.
I don't know, actually.
That was combined, which kind of muddies the numbers a little bit when you're buying both the Suns and the Mercury. But I'm sure there are players, and it would not surprise me at all to see an NBA player that has enough money that could buy a WNBA team and run it more effectively and run it better than some of the ownership groups that we have currently.
I wonder even how feasible it is and how soon it can be done. Like, is it something that could be taken care of by the time the season starts? We're not far away from it. 4 months away from a tip-off of the WNBA season.
I think it would take too much time to have it in place for this season.
I wonder exactly how much money it is too. Like, we're saying it's a lot, and but Bomani is saying like it's the reason he doesn't have charter flights because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if owners can't afford it, like I wish there was a number that we could put on it. I mean, it might be a simple Google. I don't know, but it's obviously a big enough number to where it hasn't been feasible before, but. Maybe it is, but I mean, it's a great point to bring up from Stewie and to have the backing of players. I've seen not only active players, but legends like Kareem pop in on it as well. But, it's definitely something necessary because, I mean, there's always a flight problem every year in a situation that is just problematic. And, injury risks heighten. And, I've seen players, just up at airports at God knows what time in the morning, and they play later in the day. That's as soon as you get there. There's no shoot around. There's no rest. I mean, all it is probably is rest, and you just walk into a game and it's just not ideal to keep doing that year after year. And
Yeah,
at some
and
point, you got to keep
especially
pressing the
because
issue.
especially
But
because you're playing, off in overseas in the off season, which is obviously not going to help with the recovery and recuperation because you're flying a long distance over there, traveling around over there. This search that I just conducted, you're thinking about how many players, personnel are going to be needed to travel, to and from. So you're not looking at just like a low cost kind of like small private jet kind of deal that wouldn't seat too many people. You would need something that's mid to super mid sized, if not higher. You start off with $3,000 to $5,500 per flying hour. So you're not talking about just one flight. It's talking about how much time you're up in the
season.
air for us from mid-size to super mid-size, and for a large private jet that you probably want for to give everybody that's going to be flying enough space as much as they need for the trip. You're looking at $6,000 to $10,500 per flying hour for one of those large private jets. So, and you take about how many trips you're making per season. If you have to go from Dallas to Seattle, for instance, that's a long flight. If you're going LA to play the Liberty, that's a cross country flight. It does rack up quite a hefty bill. But again, there seems like there needs to be there's got to be some way of handling it better that isn't as maybe it's as easy as getting a corporate sponsorship deal. I mean, you look at the Miami Heat and the Dallas Mavericks are in, they've got the naming rights to the stadiums with American Airlines. All it takes is just getting some kind of agreement, naming, licensing, kind of whatever deal in place with a company, and getting, as a result, getting that company to help offset the cost of the expenses of flying charter. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably, I've had enough courses, in high school and college as probably not nearly as many as some of those that are, in the executive wings that are trying to figure out these what can be done about this issue. But to me, it seems like something that might be an option.
Maybe some owners need to sell some teams then, Some of this, we're kind of just shooting in the dark because, some of the ins and outs of it, we just don't know. But, and, how realistic it is to get it done in 4 months and have it all set up, from a financial standpoint. And on top of it affecting free agency decisions, that window is not as large as getting to the actual season is. Complicates it as well when you're trying to use it as a leverage point. But I don't know. I would just how much would the I don't know, go ahead and ask.
Oh, I was just gonna say the only thing that might be something they look into if it helps keep the costs down is something they introduced to limit the travel during the pandemic. If you schedule it where you're playing you're playing 2 games over the course of a weekend in the same city, then you don't have to travel back to that city.
They play it kind of by like a little series now.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done at least as recently as last year. Not sure I can't remember off the top if they did it the year before, but yeah, they've been trying to do that to make it a bit easier. But I mean, you still run into the same issues that they run over time and time again. And charter is just the answer.
Yeah. Well, and you think about, I mean, not just that, but when you take out as much travel, that's also a better way of helping the climate pledge that a lot of the athletes are working hard to address and everything like that, and being conscientious. That's something that I don't know if that's something that comes to the mind, because flying, whether it's commercial or private, is obviously going to do some damage to the environment, to the climate. So I don't know. There's a lot of factors, Drew, that go into this. And I mean, we've talked multiple times here in the past 3 seasons of the show about this issue. And I think it's a valiant push, but until I see anything from, people that are in positions to do something about it in the WNBA, I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I really don't think anything's going to change. And I know that sounds so cynical to say, but
And speaking of not a whole lot of things changing, free agency, we hadn't had a whole lot of action
no.
recently, and it's partially because stars are waiting on some other stars to do some stuff. People are waiting on the other person to make their first move, and it kind of dictates where the pieces will kind of unfold here, and how the dominoes will fall. And nothing's really happened just yet. We're kind of waiting on pins and needles. I mean, the Alicia Gray trade has been, finalized and pushed through, and she's in Atlanta now. So, I mean, other than that, we already knew about Kayla leaving. So, not much action. We're waiting on impending things in Dallas. Marina, Tierra, Izzy. Chicago's got like 5 players on the brink
Quigley,
of
Candace.
what are they gonna do? And
Yeah.
you can pretty much guarantee if Sloot leaves town, you lose Allie Quigley.
Yeah.
So, whether that's Sloot going to another team and Quiggs retiring, that's probably what your best case is if that scenario. But if she stays in Chicago, then you might still have a 3-point sniper on your hands.
Yeah.
But otherwise, probably not. But big
there's
pieces like Stewie, who raised the issue of the chartered flights,
Yeah.
who's leveraging that right now. So who knows when her decision's going to be made? I mean, you're leaning towards places like New York, who can go ahead and maybe facilitate that. And not a lot of the other pieces have just moved yet. There's a lot of other things that just are just waiting to happen. I mean, you've seen Sandy Brondello, maybe you've seen pictures of her visiting Stewie overseas as she plays, and that's dedication right there. Liv's trying to get their girl,
Yeah, absolutely, as they should. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're about to see some more buzz, because by the time we have the episode again, we're gonna have some real things happening.
Yeah.
February
Wednesday's
1st.
Yeah,
February 1st is when it begins, and we'll be recording the day after.
Yeah.
I believe it is.
Yes.
So we're bound to have something right then. We might have something happen as we're going live, so we could have some breaking news.
Instant reaction. Yeah.
So
I let me ask you real quick before we move on. Who would you say is the first big name that's going to agree to a deal? If you had to guess.
First?
Because then, like you said, everything else is kind of waiting on that first big move to be made, and then the dominoes fall. If you had to guess, who do you think is going to be the first to announce where she's going to end up going? And if you want to give a team guess,
maybe
do you think it's Stewie?
Maybe not that she will be the first, but I think it would definitely help things go in motion, and she should be the first if that's going to activate stuff. Courtney Vandersloot. I think her decision is going to make the puzzle pieces move how it may.
Yeah.
Because
then Chicago has to figure out not just her, but Quigley, Candace Parker, and if they're not going to get her back, they need to figure out somebody else to try to bring in too.
Right, and then Emma Mieseman is in the bound in the balance as well, where she's gonna go as one of those mini free agents in Chicago. So I think it's Vandersloot, as the the best point guard on the market, arguably the best one in the league. She's kind of setting it, and wherever she goes, she's bound to be a part of a championship contender, and challenge the defending champs and the Aces if she goes to New York. I mean, whether it gets Stewie or not, that's a really good team. You shift Sabrina to the 2 and point guard Stewie, or point guard Sloot, and have JJ down there, and then maybe add Stewie. Even if you don't, that's still a nice big 3.
I mean, and also Sabrina's still out there too. Yeah,
Sloot, Sabrina, and JJ out there. That's a nice trio to hedge your thing out there to a championship. So
absolutely.
But yeah, I think it's Sloot that's going to kick it off. But
it'll be interesting.
Maybe the first one that actually does it, Candace.
Okay.
Just to get it out of the way.
Understandable. Yeah, understandable. For sure.
There's a lot of things that happen.
There's a lot of different possibilities, combinations. It may not even be a member of the Chicago Sky that announces first, Drew.
You know what's happening pretty soon, right as this stuff is getting activated. We'll be talking about it right after
What's that?
AU Pro Hoops
That's right.
coming up here
How
in the
about
next
that?
week or two here in Dallas, yo.
Gosh, hard to believe.
We got to get BJ out to AU Pro Hoops.
Yeah, we do. That's
Gotta get
something
BJ
that's
out there.
been, we've been trying to get the schedules lined up and worked out and everything like that. So we'll get that, see if we can get that sorted out.
Yeah, let's go. And now, time for some with it or quit it. I got 5 questions for Mr. BJ, and he's going to answer all of them truthfully. Solely the truth and nothing but the truth. So help
I
him God.
swear, yes, I do.
Yes, indeed. All right. BJ, number 1. Mr. Nick Claxton is the front runner for the Defensive Player of the Year award. With it or quit it?
Oh, there's a lot of guys out there that I would think about before I think about Nick Claxton. He's having a great year though, but when I think of Defensive Player of the Year, he didn't immediately come to my mind, Drew. Maybe he's quietly putting together something very similar to what Marcus Smart does. You have stats?
I'm gonna see if I can go find these numbers that old buds at the lead posted earlier. I didn't have it on my story. I thought I did.
All right.
But I'm gonna get it in 3,
Yeah.
2, 1. Nick Claxton's last 4 games: 23 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks on 92% field goal percentage. 24 points, 15 rebounds, 3 blocks on 69% from the field. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 4 blocks on 89% from the field. And then 20 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks on 75% from the field, leading the league in blocks per game and field goal percentage at 23. A breakout season.
Definitely. There's a little bit more that goes into it than just blocks, but he's definitely up there in contention. I would not call him the front runner though. So I'm going to say quit it, but I will let's see what he does going for the rest of the way, and I think he's got a really good case to be made, but I wouldn't call him the front runner just yet.
Okay. Number 2. In a relationship, you, Monsieur BJ, would rather be the cook than opposed to clean the dishes after. With it or quit it?
It's been so long since I have been in le relationship that I have not really given that a whole lot of thought. But considering that my best dish is probably a peanut butter sandwich to cook, I probably would feel like I was pulling more weight if I was helping with the cleaning more. So I'm going to say quit it. But again, if something happens and we get a little no or anything like that, if I get into a kind of relationship, I can better address that with put that hypothesis to the test.
Okay. All right. Number 3. The Dallas Wings will keep Marina Mabrey in free agency and re-sign her. With it or quit it?
Yeah, I'm with it, Drew. I think that this is the, kind of the best spot for her. I think if she's, trying to look elsewhere, she might not kind of have as, good of a role as she would be with this Dallas Wings team. A lot of, maybe a little bit more of some gripes and everything like that. But, playing it out with a new coach this year, it'll be interesting to see kind of if they are able to give her more of an elevated role in the new scheme that I just had a brain fart on
Trammell.
Yeah, Trammell. I don't know why. That's definitely a name I'm familiar with, but it just wasn't coming to my mind. What she's wanting to do, I think Mabrey could be a very big part of that. So I think that she will come back, and I think that she'll be a pretty good piece to have for the Wings this year. Maybe I'm naive, but I think that this would be the best place for her to come back to.
No, I agree. I think her, Enrique, and Veronica Burton splitting minutes as a trio up there at the guard position is going to be great. I mean, we got Crystal
absolutely.
Dangerfield and everything up there. We lost Ty Harris, and Alicia played more out at the
Mhm.
wing more
Yeah.
lately than the guard position running point where Marina will be. So I think Marina will be a real focal point.
Absolutely.
Depending on who all's on this team, but she's gonna be a starting point guard for sure. Number 4. At restaurants. You, BJ, usually sit down and order a soda as opposed to a tea or water. Yes, with it or quit it.
Hmm. Well, depends on when you ask me this. If you ask me before the
As of
last,
today.
as of today, then it's going to be acquitted because as of the last 6 months or so, Drew, I've been drinking more water than trying to drink anything else. But every now and again, I have a little setback. So
Whoa.
most of the time at the restaurant, I do try to order water and try to keep it at least a little healthy and be better about it. But sometimes, every now and a bit, a can won't kill you.
Okay.
I hope. I hope.
There you go. All right. Last but not least, number 5. Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks aren't doing enough for Luka Doncic. With it or quit it?
I was just saying. I mean, I'm glad that I brought this in just because I figured we were going to need it.
And there's your answer.
Yeah, that's the answer. It's absolutely. I think that I know that they're not going to do anything, but I really do think that. I mean, what you said, the defensive stats are just abysmal considering what they were able to accomplish after the trade deadline last year and what helped propel them to making the Western Conference Finals run. I don't really think that Jalen Brunson was the biggest key part of making that defense work. I don't know what has made things so much worse defensively. It's not, Christian Wood being out because they were playing bad defense even when he was still healthy and playing games. I don't know what the case is because they've got enough, threats with the ball that they should be doing better, but it's that defense that's concerning. And I don't think they're going to make a move, but I don't know if that's the right decision, Drew.
Yeah. Don't believe so.
Absolutely with it.
That is with it or quit it.
Yeah, and that's the episode, Drew. But before we go, I heard from a little birdie. He came up through the grapevine and he told me, Drew, that there was a sale going on over at T Public. Is that true? Can you confirm? Can you confirm?
I can confirm that site-wide it is up to 35% off, and T-shirts are just $14.
I love it, Drew. I'm rocking the Lowdown T-shirt tonight. I thought that you might be doing it. You did the last 2 weeks, but not tonight. So
sale goes through the weekend, so get it while it's hot.
Get it while it's hot.
Otherwise, on a regular basis, they're a little bit higher, and you have to get a certain amount, and then you'll only receive free shipping. I think it's $80 or more, we said last time. So get it while it's on sale.
And also, Drew, over at Fanatics, our friends at Fanatics have a 24-hour deal going on through the rest of the day. I'm sure they'll have some deals going on across the weekend. I got the flash sale last week, or whenever they were doing it. I got up to 30% off. But you can get up to 65% off right now site-wide using code Arctic. And one of the things I got for my birthday last week, Drew, this nice little mint coin. From the playoff game that TCU and Michigan played a few weeks ago back at the New Year's Eve.
That is a fan
really
right
nice,
there.
Yeah, really nice deal. I was very impressed with the quality and everything, and nice little perch, nice little carrying case. So get you some good old-fashioned merch from Fanatics. Go over to our store, T Public, and Drew. That's the episode, is it not?
That is indeed. Make sure you guys are following us on socials, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. All those little places. When we're live doing this show, it's on Twitch and YouTube, so that's what that's for. It's at @the_lowdown. That's THA_lowdown on all those platforms we just mentioned. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you again next week in the month of February for another edition of The Lowdown.